Welcome, everybody, into the Landry Football Podcast Network. This is ACC football and beyond. Yes, we're going to be breaking down some intriguing matchups inside the conference, including the biggest one, maybe, on the college football slate this weekend, Clemson and North Carolina State in Clemson, South Carolina. Louisville, Boston College. Not much of a matchup. We're going to get into that, though. Wake Forest, Florida State, another good one. North Carolina, Virginia Tech, the Tar Heels, a lot of offense. Can Virginia Tech get anything done offensively? Syracuse will continue their win streak out of conference playing Wagner this week. Um, and then, of course, Virginia Duke. We'll see how that one plays out. And Georgia Tech at Pitt. Those are the slate that we're going to get into. And we're going to spend a little time on the Clemson North Carolina State game. In fact, that's going to be a feature game over one of the feature games over at LandryFootball.com. We remind you, you can get even more detailed film room analysis of all of these games inside the ACC, as well as the rest of the conferences around the country by heading on over to LandryFootball.com. Get your football season savings special that we have going for you. Less than a magazine subscription, you can get a coaching and scouting perspective on the college game, the pro game. We break down all the games. We break down all the teams, players, coaches, schemes. We've got it all for you. So make sure that you check it out. $69.99 for the year and $9.99 for a month. So give it a try. You think you will absolutely love it. We also hope you love the Landry Football Podcast Network. So we ask for you to subscribe, like, and share. We'd appreciate you doing that, the Landry Football Podcast Network. Sign up for that. It's free. Also sign up for free Off the Hook Sports YouTube channel and subscribe, like, and share that as well. So we're going to run through the games. Louisville, Boston College, not a whole lot to say about this game at Alumni Stadium in Chestnut Hill. It's going to be on the ACC Network. 12 Eastern time start on Saturday. Louisville 2-2, Boston College 1-3. Boston College is really struggling. For Louisville, an important game for Scott Satterfield in that they're 2-2, and you could make a case that they're in a little bit of a watch there, need to have a good season. You can't go on the road and lose to a bad BC team. This could be a problem. I expect them to win it, but let's go into it a little bit. If you're going to be a pass-only offense, you need to be able to pass pretty effectively. Boston College doesn't do a very good job. They're just under 60 yards per game running the football. And that's not what BC normally does. The passing attack is making up for it. But Phil Jakovic is a good quarterback. Zay Flowers is a very good receiver. They are really what I would call top shelf players in the ACC. But there's no real passing attack away from him. The pass protection is really bad. Folks, you talk about the passing game all the time. If you can't pass protect, then receivers can't get open. Quarterbacks don't have time to get the ball to them, and it is a problem. It's maybe the worst looking passing attack in the ACC right now. The Louisville defense is coming off one of its best performances of the season in their 41-3 win over South Florida, and I don't think it's going to give up a whole lot against the run here. BC can't pass protect, and I think that Louisville's pretty good at getting to the quarterback. That's not a good formula for BC. Now, what I think BC needs to do is they got to be able to dink and dunk against the Cardinals here, and Djokovic's going to have to get the ball out really quickly. Central Florida and USF struggle to compete the basic passes, but Syracuse's Garrett Strader and the Florida State's combination of Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker were able to combine to hit 70% of their throws for 266 yards and 4 scores. The Boston College offense is not working, but Djokovic can make plays. So we'll see if they can get enough done here. I still think Louisville's probably going to win going away. We've got more details over at LandryFootball.com. Wake Forest goes to Florida State. Now, as we are taping this on Thursday, we think the game is going to go as scheduled at 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern on Saturday. But we are mindful of the storms that are entering Florida, have entered Florida, and we don't know the status and the circumstances around it. We'll obviously keep you up to date, and the weather and news will update where we're going with that. But the game's scheduled for Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee on Saturday afternoon. still scheduled that way. Sam Hartman almost pulled off the game against Clemson. Clemson is Clemson, and it's got a really good defense, and it almost pulled off a 51-45 victory over um, Clemson last week, and he had his third straight 300-yard game since coming back from a blood clot issue. 6 touchdown passes, really attacked Clemson secondary. Um, Florida State, for all their success, and I've been impressed with what they've done. They haven't seen anything like Sam Hartman and Wake Forest. Now, are they going to be down in the dumps, Wake Forest, this week because they, wanted that game so badly against Clemson and came up short? It's always a possibility. But Wake is a better, the best offensive team that Florida State has played this year and may even play this year. Jaden Daniels was able to hit some mid-range passes against LSU, and when you look at how they were able to defend that, Malik Cunningham, and even Boston College's offense was able to connect. I think Sam Hartman's going to have a field day against Florida State. So, can Florida State's offense crank it up? Can Wake Forest defense hold up? This is not a very good defensive team. The pass rush is good. The run defense hasn't been too bad, but DJU came up with a great day. Can Florida State match points? Can they find a rhythm against a very vulnerable Wake defense? So, I don't think Travis is the flashiest of quarterbacks, but he's a veteran. He's accurate. And he's come up with some explosive plays. So, I don't think it can keep up in an up and down game. The Seminoles lead the ACC in rushing. They're great at controlling the ball in the tempo. I think if they win this, they're going to have their offense on the field for about 35 minutes in this game. We'll see how it plays out. But they've got to catch Wake in a little bit of a down period off that tough loss to Clemson. And Florida State's going to have to control the football. If that's their key to win, we'll tell you more about it at LandryFootball.com and give you a pick there. Virginia Tech's at North Carolina. North Carolina still can't stop anybody. Virginia Tech, though, I don't know if they can score against anybody. We saw Notre Dame struggling offense score a bunch against North Carolina. What's going right with Virginia Tech right now? It's a big, long process that Brent Pry has had to undertake, but the defense hasn't been awful. West Virginia was pretty balanced and moved with ease in a 33-10 win last week, but the overall Hokie D has been really good on third downs. The secondary has been solid. 218 rushing yards by West Virginia for the first time this year, and anyone's been able to move the football on the ground against them. On the flip side, North Carolina's run defense has been awful. It's getting, Appalachian State did. Georgia State, Notre Dame. Everybody's running the football on them. Then Virginia Tech hasn't been able to run well thus far, but I think they've got to here, and I think they've got to be committed to doing it because they don't want to get into a shootout type game. They can't throw the football very well, and I think that's going to be a problem. North Carolina can. So shootout game is going to be a North Carolina win and perhaps decisively. Control the football with your offense, pound it against North Carolina, limit their offenses, you got a shot. So Virginia Tech's defense has technically been okay, but that's against Old Dominion and Boston College, Wofford. This offense can really crank it up. So look for Carolina to get quite a bit of points in this game, and that should be the difference. Wagner goes to Syracuse. The Seahawks of Wagner has had some issues. Penalties been pretty clean thus far. They've taken advantage of some turnovers. Syracuse has turned the ball over 4 times in a close win over Virginia. This should be a game that Syracuse puts away fast. They should be able to move the football effectively, stay on the field. Wagner's not been good on third downs, and they're certainly not going to be here. Syracuse is going to be a tune-up. This has been a nice early start for Syracuse. They'll win this one. They got NC State, at Clemson, Notre Dame, Pitt, Florida State, and Wake Forest. It's getting real for Syracuse, and they're not going to win. I don't know that they win, but maybe one of those games the rest of the way. So this is definitely one that they're going to win and going to win going away. North Carolina State at Clemson. Devin Leary, this is where you got to stand up. The NC State quarterback pulled off the win over the Tigers last year with a brilliant day, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns, but has yet to get going against anyone good since. Looked good against Connecticut, Charleston Southern, but struggled against East Carolina and only hit the short range throws against Texas Tech. Clemson's had a really good defensive front. The offense just put it together last week against Wake Forest. This defense of North Carolina State's pretty good. 4 takeaways against Texas Tech, a very good offense. The secondary's got 7 picks on the year. The run defense is holding up well. I think they're really good. The other side, the offensive line has been good in pass protection, giving Leary time. This game sits on Devin Leary, and it's not just, oh, yeah, he's the quarterback. This is truly where it sits. DJU is playing very well. He's much maligned for not being consistent. The offense not moving the football well enough. Get Cade Klubnik in the game. I was in that group, quite frankly. But he showed up big against Wake Forest, and he came through. Let's see him do it consistently. Let's see him do it against his NC State defense. I think he can do it, but he's going to have to. He's been pretty effective. He's completing at a 64% clip. Over 1,000 yards at this point, 10 scores, just 1 pick. So let's see here. Let's see where, if this is a redemption game and Clemson kind of pays back NC State, kind of feeling that it's going to be that way. But again, Devin Leary, this NC State defense is good enough. The offensive line has been good enough. The running game has been good enough. Got to get a good game out of Devin Leary. You do. I'm not so sure that this NC State team may not be one of the more complete teams, maybe the second most complete team in the conference. Clemson's defense is good. I look at the game against Wake Forest more about what Wake was able to do and not necessarily an indictment on Clemson. But I will say this. I think NC State's secondary is better than Clemson's. This secondary for Clemson is going to struggle against good passing offenses. Will NC State be a good passing offense this week? It may be the game of the weekend, not just in the ACC, but in college football. I got more thoughts for you at LandryFootball.com. Virginia at Duke, Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham. I'm waiting for this Virginia team to get their offense going. It's been night and day different. Brennan Armstrong almost pulled out the Syracuse game, though, last week. He gets a Duke defense that failed miserably against the 2 teams on the schedule that can throw the football. Northwestern threw for 435 yards. They beat them, but they lost. And Kansas went off for them. I don't know that Armstrong can replicate that with the personnel around him, but I think it's close, and I think he can be real effective on third down. So we'll see. That's a bad-looking third down defense that Duke has at this point. So we'll see how this plays out. Can the pass rush be enough to get it done for Virginia? The offense isn't playing all that well, but the defense has done a good job forcing turnovers against Illinois and Syracuse. May not be pretty, but I kind of like this game coming on maybe in Virginia's favor. We'll see how this plays out. And then finally, Georgia Tech goes at Pitt, 7 o'clock East Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on the ACC network in Pittsburgh, formerly Heinz Field. Esser Stadium, I think is what it's pronounced. It's a cellular company, I believe. I think I got that right. Brent Key is interim coach at Georgia Tech. Pressure's off. No more speculation about Jeff Collins. We always talk about this when you have the change. Sometimes you get a spark. Maybe there's a spark here. They're not. There's enough of a pass rush here to at least show some signs. They've not run the football well except against Western Carolina. They actually did a pretty good job first half against Clemson. Ole Miss is good. Central Florida, playing over there is tough, but this is not a very good Georgia Tech team. This pass defense is going to struggle against Pitt. Slovis is back healthy with a little protection, which you'll get. I think they're going to have success. Now, Georgia Tech was able to hold down Central Florida's passing game. That doesn't do a whole lot, but Clemson's DJU and Jackson Dart were able to put up a lot of yards, even though it wasn't pretty. Pitt has a lot of things that could take away what the offense wants to do. The team is good at controlling the clock. They're first in ACC time of possession. Georgia Tech is last. So I think they've got some real advantages here. The Tech offense might be a little bit more aggressive, more dangerous, but maybe you get Sims more involved with a little tempo. That might be something that Pitt will have to be prepared for defensively. But I think the Pitt defense is going to generate too much pressure, and I think it's going to cause too much problems. I just don't like Tech's chances, their outlook right now, and I think Pitt has designs on making another run and winning their division again. So that's a look there. We've got further thoughts on that game, all the ACC games, as well as all the games in college football and the NFL over at LandryFootball.com. So make sure that you check that out there and take advantage of our football season sale today. We'd ask you to subscribe, like, and share Landry Football Podcast Network and Off the Hook Sports YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. And also invite you to subscribe to the ACC Football and Beyond show and subscribe, like, and share. And if you're a fan of the other conferences, they're called the same thing, the conference name conference name Football and Beyond. So easy to do there, easy to remember. So we appreciate you joining us. Enjoy all the games this weekend. We'll be back right here to wrap it up for you, all on the Landry Football Podcast Network. So long, everybody.